Eliza Harper had always been the forgotten one, the shadow in a family of bright stars back in the bustling streets of Boston. Born the youngest of 5 sisters, she grew up in a cramped tenement where her mother's weary eyes barely glanced her way, too occupied with the demands of survival after their father's untimely death in a factory accident. Eliza's sisters were the beauties, the charmers, the ones who turned heads and secured advantageous marriages to merchants and clerks, leaving her behind like an afterthought. She was plain, laced the mousy brown hair that refused to curl, freckles that dotted her cheeks like unwanted constellations, and a quiet demeanor that made her fade into the wallpaper. By the time she turned 25, the whispers had turned into outright pity. Poor Eliza, she'd end up a spinster, tending to her aging mother alone. But Eliza dreamed of more than that suffocating existence. She yearned for a place where she could matter, where her gentle hands and kind heart might find purpose. That's when she stumbled upon the matrimonial advertisements in the back of a tattered newspaper, promising companionship and adventure in the untamed West. With nothing left to lose, she penned a letter to a widower named Samuel Thorne in the remote town of Willow Creek, Montana. He was a rancher, 40 years old, seeking a wife to help manage his homestead and care for his young daughter, Lily. His response was curt but hopeful. "I need a sturdy woman, not afraid of hard work. If that's you, come." And so, with the small savings scrapped from years of seamstress work, Eliza boarded the train, her trunk filled with modest dresses and a single cherished locket from her grandmother. The journey westward was a blur of rattling cars and endless prairies, each mile stretching her nerves thinner. Doubts plagued her like relentless mosquitoes. What if Samuel found her lacking? What if he sent her back, humiliated and penniless? As the train finally screeched to a halt in Willow Creek, the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the sparse platform. Eliza stepped down, her boots crunching on gravel, scanning the faces of the few gathered souls. There was no welcoming committee, no eager husband waving a hat. Panic rose in her throat as minutes ticked by, the crowd dispersing until she stood alone. Had he changed his mind? Was she truly unwanted? Even here, just as tears threatened to spill, a wagon creaked into view, pulled by 2 sturdy horses. At the reins sat a man with sun-weathered skin, a broad-brimmed hat shading his stern features. Beside him, peeking out with wide blue eyes, was a girl no older than 7, her golden curls tied in ribbons. "You Eliza?" Samuel called gruffly, hopping down without ceremony. She nodded, swallowing hard. "I'm Samuel Thorne. This here's Lily." The child stared at her curiously but said nothing, clutching a rag doll to her chest. The ride to the ranch was silent, save for the clip-clop of hooves and the occasional lowing of distant cattle. The landscape unfolded in rugged beauty, rolling hills dotted with wildflowers, a river snaking through the valley like a silver ribbon. But Eliza's mind raced with fears. Samuel seemed distant, his conversation limited to practicalities. The ranch spanned 200 acres, winters were harsh, and she'd be expected to cook, clean, and tend the garden. No words of warmth, no spark of connection. As they arrived at the modest log cabin, smoke curling from the chimney, Eliza's heart sank further. Inside, the home was sparsely a cast-iron stove, a rough-hewn table, and 2 bedrooms separated by a thin wall. Lily's room was a tiny alcove with a quilted bed and a shelf of worn books. "You'll sleep here," Samuel said, pointing to the main bedroom. "I'll take the barn loft till we're wed proper." The word wed hung in the air like a promise unfulfilled. That first night, as Eliza lay on the lumpy mattress, listening to the coyotes howl, she wondered if this was all a mistake. The next morning dawned crisp and clear, and Eliza rose early to prove her worth. She kneaded dough for biscuits, scrubbed the floors until they gleamed, and weeded the vegetable patch under the relentless sun. Samuel nodded approvingly but offered no praise. His grief for his late wife, a woman named Clara, lost to fever 2 years prior, evident in his guarded eyes. Lily, however, was a mystery. The girl trailed Eliza like a silent shadow, watching her every move with those piercing blue eyes. She didn't speak much, her words softer and sparse since her mother's death. Samuel explained. "She'll warm up," he said dismissively. But days turned into weeks, and Lily remained distant, clinging to her doll and avoiding Eliza's attempts at conversation. Eliza tried everything: baking apple pies from the orchard's bounty, reading fairy tales by the firelight, even sewing a new dress for the doll. Yet Lily would only nod or shake her head, her small face etched with unspoken sorrow. Eliza's insecurities deepened. Back in Boston, she'd been invisible here. She felt rejected anew. One evening, as storm clouds gathered overhead, Samuel announced they'd marry in town the following week. "It's practical," he said, avoiding her gaze. "Lily needs a mother figure." The word stung. A figure, not a real mother. That night, as thunder rumbled, Eliza sat by the window, tears streaming down her face. She was just a convenience, a mail-order solution to his problems. No one truly wanted her. She was merely filling a void. But fate has a way of twisting paths unexpectedly. The next day, while Samuel rode out to check the fences, Eliza took Lily to the nearby creek for a picnic. The girl had reluctantly agreed, carrying her doll along the dusty trail. They spread a blanket under a willow tree, its branches dipping into the sparkling water. Eliza unpacked sandwiches and fresh berries, chattering nervously about her childhood in the city. Lily nibbled quietly, her eyes fixed on the rippling stream. As the afternoon waned, a sudden splash startled Amy, a frog leaping into the water. Lily giggled, the sound like tinkling bells, the first real emotion Eliza had heard from her. Emboldened, Eliza scooped up a pebble and skipped it across the surface, demonstrating the trick. "Want to try?" she asked gently. Lily hesitated, then nodded, her small hand taking the stone. Her first throw sank immediately, but she laughed again, pure and unfiltered. For hours, they played splashing toes in the shallows, chasing butterflies, weaving daisy chains. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Lily turned to Eliza with a tentative smile. "You're nice," she whispered, the words barely audible over the babbling creek. Eliza's heart swelled, a flicker of hope igniting within. But the real turning point came that evening, back at the cabin. As Eliza tucked Lily into bed, brushing her curls with tender care, the girl clutched her hand. "Miss Eliza," she said softly, "do you like it here?" Eliza paused, surprised. "I do, very much." "Why do you ask?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Because Mama left, and I thought no one would stay." The confession broke something in Eliza, a dam of empathy and shared pain. She hugged the child close, whispering assurances until sleep claimed her. That night, as Samuel returned from his ride, Eliza shared the moment over dinner. For the first time, he looked at her with something akin to respect. "You've got away with her," he admitted gruffly. The wedding approached, a simple ceremony in the town's clapboard church, attended by a handful of neighbors. Eliza wore her best dress, a faded blue calico, her hair pinned up with wildflowers. Samuel stood tall in his Sunday suit, Lily between them in a frilly frock. As the preacher pronounced them man and wife, Eliza felt a tentative peace settle over her. But doubts lingered. Was this love, or mere obligation? The honeymoon was non-existent. Back to the ranch, where chores awaited. Yet subtle changes emerged. Samuel began sharing stories of his past, of meeting Clara in a mining camp, their dreams of building a life together. Eliza opened up about her lonely upbringing, the ache of being overlooked. In quiet evenings by the fire, the conversations deepened, laughter creeping in like dawn's first light. Lily blossomed too, her silence giving way to chatter. She helped Eliza in the kitchen, learning to roll dough and churn butter, her small hands eager and clumsy. One crisp autumn day, as leaves turned gold, the family ventured to the town fair. Booths lined the streets with pies, quilts, and livestock on display. Lily rode her pony, her squeals of delight echoing. Samuel won a ribbon for his prize bull, and Eliza entered her apple pie, taking second place. As they strolled hand in hand, Samuel's rough palm in hers, Lily skipping at a sense of belonging washed over Eliza. But storms brew even in calm skies. Winter descended harshly that year, snow blanketing the ranch in white isolation. Supplies dwindled, and a fever swept through Willow Creek, claiming lives. When Lily fell ill, her cheeks flushed and body racked with coughs, terror gripped Eliza. She nursed the girl day and night, brewing herbal teas and sponging her forehead, memories of her own mother's indifference fueling her determination. Samuel paced anxiously, his face lined with worry. In those feverish hours, as Lily deliriously called for her mama, Eliza realized the depth of her attachment. She wasn't just a stand-in, she was needed, wanted. The fever broke on the third day, Lily's eyes clearing as she smiled weakly at Eliza. "Thank you," she murmured, squeezing her hand. Samuel pulled Eliza aside later, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what we'd do without you." For the first time, he kissed her, and not out of duty, but with genuine warmth. Spring arrived like a promise fulfilled, melting snow revealing green shoots. The ranch thrived under their combined efforts, cattle fattening on fresh grass, the garden bursting with vegetables. Eliza's plain features seemed to glow with inner light, her freckles now badges of resilience. She and Samuel shared stolen moments: a walk by the creek, a dance in the barn to fiddle music from a neighbor's gathering. Love, slow and steady, had taken root. Yet the true magic lay with Lily, who now called Eliza Ma in casual affection, the words slipping out naturally. One evening, as the family sat on the porch watching fireflies dance, Lily climbed into Eliza's lap. "I'm glad you came," she said simply. Eliza hugged her tight, tears of joy mingling with the twilight. But whispers of the past still haunted her. Or would this happiness last? Little did she know, a single question was about to cement her place forever. As the seasons cycled onward in Willow Creek, Eliza Thornia, now fully embracing her married Namia, found herself weaving deeper into the fabric of ranch life, her once tentative steps now confident strides across the sun-baked earth. The cabin, once a stark shelter, transformed under her touch. Curtains fluttered at the windows, wildflowers adorned the table and jelly jars, and the aroma of fresh-baked bread became a daily comfort. Samuel's gruff exterior softened like leather worked by time, his smiles more frequent, his touches lingering with affection born of shared trials. Lily, the heart of their world, grew like a wildflower, her 8th birthday marked by a homemade cake and a new pony named Daisy. Yet beneath this budding bliss, Eliza carried a secret aching, a longing for a child of her own, one that would blend her blood with Samuel's, affirming her worth beyond the mail order label. She confided this to no one, burying it in busier days, mending fences, canning preserves, teaching Lily her letters by lamplight. Summers brought golden wheat fields swaying in the breeze, and the family worked side by side, harvesting under endless blue skies. Picnics by the creek became ritual, where Lily splashed her and laughed, her bond with Eliza unbreakable. One lazy afternoon, as dragonflies skimmed the water, Lily turned to her with serious eyes. "Ma, why did you come here?" Eliza paused, the question stirring old wounds. "I came looking for a family," she replied honestly. Lily nodded thoughtfully. "Good, 'cause we needed you." Those words were balm to Eliza's soul, easing the shadows of doubt. But life on the frontier was unforgiving. A drought struck that fall, parching the land and withering crops. Cattle grew lean, and worries mounted as wells ran low. Samuel rode long hours seeking water sources, his face etched with strain. Eliza rationed supplies, her hands calloused from digging futile irrigation ditches. Lily, sensing the tension, clung closer, her chatter a distraction from the hardship. In the midst of this trial, a letter arrived from Boston, news that Eliza's mother had passed, leaving behind a small inheritance. The sum was modest but enough to buy seed and perhaps a new plow. As Eliza read the words, grief mingled with relief. Her old life felt distant now, a faded photograph. She shared the news with Samuel that evening, his arm around her shoulders. "We'll make it through," he vowed, and in his eyes, she saw unwavering partnership. Winter followed, milder than before, blanketed in snow that insulated their world. Huddled by the fire, stories flowed as Samuel recounting tall tales of frontier legends, Eliza sharing city folk tales, Lily inventing her own with wide-eyed wonder. Christmas was simple, handmade gifts, a turkey from the woods, carols sung off-key but with heart. Lily presented Eliza with a drawing, a family portrait, stick figures under a rainbow sky. "That's us," she beamed. Eliza treasured it, hanging it above the mantel. As spring thawed the earth, renewal bloomed. The inheritance funded improvements, a new barn extension, better fencing, even a few laying hens. Eliza's garden flourished, yielding bountiful harvests that she sold at the town market, her stall drawing neighbors with her warm smile and fair prices. Recognition came slowly, a whispers of "that Thorn woman, she's a keeper," affirming her place in the community. Yet the unspoken desire for a baby persisted, a quiet prayer in her nightly thoughts. One fateful day, as Eliza felt a familiar queasiness, hope stirred. A visit to the town doctor confirmed it. She was with child. Joy exploded like fireworks as Samuel whooped, lifting her in a bear hug. Lily jumped with excitement, already planning names. The pregnancy progressed smoothly, Eliza's belly rounding as summer ripened. She moved with careful grace, Samuel fussing over her like a hen with chicks. Lily appointed herself guardian, fetching water and rubbing Eliza's feet. But complications arose in the final months. A persistent ache, warnings of bed rest, fear crept in, memories of Clara's fever haunting them. Samuel hired a midwife from town, and the family braced for the birth. Labor came on a stormy night, winds howling as if echoing Eliza's cries, hours blurred in pain and determination, Samuel holding her hand, Lily waiting anxiously in the next room. Finally, with a triumphant wail, a baby boy entered the world. Healthy, with Samuel's dark hair and Eliza's freckles. They named him Jacob, after Samuel's father. As Eliza cradled her son, exhaustion giving way to euphoria, she felt complete. The family gathered, Lily peering at her brother with awe. "He's perfect," she whispered. In the weeks that followed, the ranch buzzed with new life. Jacob's cries mingled with laughter, his tiny fists waving in discovery. Eliza marveled at motherhood, the bond instantaneous and fierce. Samuel doted, rocking the cradle during midnight feeds. Lily, the proud big sister, sang lullabies and helped with diapers, her maturity shining. But amid this happiness, a deeper revelation awaited. One quiet evening, as the sun set in a blaze of crimson, the family sat on the porch. Jacob cooed in Eliza's arms, Samuel whittling a toy horse, Lily braiding flowers into a crown. Suddenly, Lily looked up at Eliza, her expression earnest. "Ma," she said softly, "before you came, I prayed for a new mommy, but I was scared you'd leave like the others who answered Papa's ad." Eliza's breath caught as Samuel had mentioned brief correspondences, but none had stayed. "I thought no one wanted us," Lily continued, tears glistening. "But you did. You stayed." The vulnerability in her voice pierced Eliza's heart. Setting Jacob in his bassinet, she knelt before Lily. "Sweetheart, I was the one who thought no one wanted me. Back home, I was always last choice. Coming here was my last hope." Lily's eyes widened in understanding. Then, in a moment that would etch itself into eternity, she threw her arms around Eliza's neck and whispered, "Can you be my mommy, for real?" Tears streamed down Eliza's face as she nodded fiercely. "I already am, my darling." "Forever." Samuel watched, his own eyes misty, pulling them all into an embrace. In that instant, the mail-order bride who arrived unwanted became the irreplaceable heart of a family. Years passed like pages in a well-loved book. The ranch prospered, Jacob growing sturdy alongside Lily, to blossom into a young woman of grace and strength. Eliza and Samuel aged together, their love a steady flame against life's winds. Willow Creek evolved a schoolhouse built, a railroad extension bringing progress, but their bond remained timeless. Eliza often reflected on that train platform arrival, that despair that led to this abundance. She taught her children the value of perseverance, of seeing worth where others overlooked it. Lily, now a teacher herself, carried that lesson forward, her whispered question a family legend retold with warmth. And Eliza, once the forgotten sister, knew she was chosen not by chance, but by love's unerring hand.